This sucks, and it's horseshit. But I'm too polite to say anything because I'm a class act.
Oh, that's the way this New York Giants season has been going. This is Tim's New York Giants Straight Talk, powered by Lane Big Blue LLC. Want to talk about the Andrew Thomas injury? Want to talk about, is this another coaching or head coaching mistake by the anointed one, Brian Daboll? My man crush goes on and off with Brian Daboll because he does these things. And he does these things that maybe he's just getting bad information from his coaching staff, or maybe he's getting bad information from his medical staff. I don't know what else to think. The news is, of course, coming down not good. And that's the fact that Andrew Thomas is going to Charlotte to see a foot specialist in reference to his injury. And he's basically getting a second opinion. And right now the season is considered up in the air as of today. And I mean, I don't see him returning against the Eagles. I don't really see him returning within the near future. I mean, I see the IR on the, I see the IR coming down the pike, especially if it's a series of foot injuries. I think it is. He suffered an injury in the third quarter touchdown drive, that 16-play drive that Brian Daboll likes to talk about, that you don't get a lot of 16-play drives. But here's the thing. He suffered it during the 16-play drive in the third quarter, and he continued to play. I always know we want our guys to be tough. We want them to gut it out. We want them to just go through the motions. We want them to just be on that field 100%. And the offensive line has had the continuity this season. But Andrew Thomas did not look right after the third quarter. He really didn't. And you didn't really see on the sidelines, him really huddling too much with the medical staff, having taken the shoe off, doing all those things that you do. And I just find it interesting that you have a guy that just signed not too long ago a $67 million guaranteed deal. He signed an I should rephrase it. He signed an extension that includes $67 million guaranteed just a year ago. And this is a gentleman that's already had 2 ankle surgeries since the start of his career. And now you're going to potentially add a foot injury and a foot surgery. You have to think of the longevity of this guy. He's the anchor of your line. He's your Pro Bowler. He's your All Pro. And this is not the first time we've seen Brian Daboll leave a guy in way too long. He did it to Thomas last year. And what happened? We had the hamstring injury when he tried to run down the fumble. I don't know if the medical staff information is coming to Brian Daboll. I don't know if he's just ignoring it. But you got the guy on the hook for $67 million guaranteed. And you have him out there when you could see he's just not right. Now, most people will say, a 50% or 70% Andrew Thomas is better than most people, most linemen in the league or most linemen the Giants have. But the problem is this, and we've talked about this a million times, it's about longevity. It's not always just about a game. It's not just about a season. Sometimes it's about a career. And when you have someone as important as the left tackle position is in this league, and you have a premier All-Pro and Pro Bowler, well, he should be an All-Pro. He was a Pro Bowler. You just don't. You need to err on the side of caution. And sometimes I don't get that with Brian Daboll. I don't think he errs on the side of caution. And when you don't, you run into these injuries. I mean, like I said, Daniel Jones to me is not an NFL quarterback. Daniel Jones is not a guy that should be starting in this league. And there was plenty of games there was some games last season that Daniel Jones was taking a beating in. I go with that Dallas game. And those are games that he probably should have got the hook late in the third quarter, early in the fourth, and he didn't. Brian Daboll left him out there. I don't know if it was as a punishment or what, but he leaves his guys out there way too long. And when you do that and you risk this type of injury, these scenarios occur. So I don't get it. I truly don't get it. What's going on in Giantland? You have a 2-4 team whose defense is playing, I would say, within the top 15, maybe the lower half in the league, in my opinion. You have an offense that's sputtering, and you're doing nothing to change and doing nothing different. And you are the boy wonder. You have taken over for Kafka, Brian Daboll, that is. And we're still running the same dink and dunk offense. I keep seeing those apology letters from last week with Daniel Jones. Like, here's the apology letter. You got to fill it out for Daniel Jones. I think all Giant fans should write an apology letter to Jason Garrett. Because Jason Garrett got run out of this town on a rail. He was used and made an example of, and even the great Freddie Kitchens couldn't save this offense because it's just the way it is. But Jason Garrett knew what he had in Daniel Jones. He made a simplistic offense, which was derived of a short passing game and relied on Daniel Jones's ability to run. Plain and simple. And he did these things because of the fact that he knew the type of quarterback he had. And everyone blames him for that 6-10 season when we should have made the playoffs because what the Eagles did. But Jason Garrett knew what he had, knew what he was working with Daniel Jones. And he understood. And Brian Daboll kind of took that model and tweaked it. And the reason why he had the ability to tweak it in 2022 is because he had Saquon Barkley in the running game. We didn't have a running game that year, but he had Saquon Barkley in a running game. So he was allowed to use the limitations of Daniel Jones, keep the short passing game, and and when teams became over aggressive, he would allow Daniel Jones to run. Jason Garrett's year, that first year, he literally understood that, listen, especially because if you notice these big runs usually came against the Eagles and other teams that had aggressive defenses. When this defense over pursues and the pocket collapsed from the sides, that leaves the middle of the field open. So what he would do is he would allow Daniel Jones to just run down the middle of the field, to step up into the pocket and run. And so most of these plays that Daniel Jones had his big runs with Jason Garrett were designed plays. And then I've said this before, you could do this for a couple of years. And then in 2023, they did the same. Daboll did the same thing, but he had it backed up with a running game. And the Giants made the playoffs, went 9-7-1 and made the playoffs. But then last year, it was interesting because, and same as this year, teams have figured out, listen, all I need to do is contain Daniel Jones. All I have to do is keep him in the pocket, because once you keep him in the pocket, he's not that great of a quarterback outside of a 10-yard pass. I don't think there's any teams that truly fear the deep ball passing skills of Daniel Jones.
Worry about your own game. Plenty there to keep you busy.
There's plenty to Daniel Jones's game in year 6 that he hasn't fixed. And you would think a guy that got a $160 million contract would be more of a finished product, but he's not. And I don't think he ever will be. And Jason Garrett understood that. Jason Garrett was like, all right, I get this. And this is what I'm going to do to this quarterback. And this is how I'm going to make this quarterback work. And Brian Daboll came in when he got the Giant job. Some people speculated that he was basically told, you have to take Daniel Jones. So you're going to try to put a round peg in a square hole. And that's what he did. And it worked for a season. And now teams have just figured it out. So I do think we need to turn around and call up Jason Garrett and say, listen, Jason, you know what? We ran you out of town because we thought you were a...
I don't want to tell him what a cheap, lying, no good, rotten, four-flushing, low-life, snake-licking, dirt-eating, inbred, overstuffed, ignorant, blood-sucking, dog-kissing, brainless, dickless, hopeless, heartless, fat-ass, bug-eyed, stiff-legged, spotty-lipped, worm-headed sack of monkey shit he is. Hallelujah! Holy shit! Where's the Tylenol?
And it turns out he wasn't. It turns out he was probably right. Not probably, but you know what? Sometimes, as we've said it before, as you get further away from a situation, you see certain things, you're like, dude, this guy was probably fucking right. So the question is going to be, are we going to see a Drew Lock show coming to a town near you? I've said it before. I don't think Drew Lock's the answer. I don't even think Drew Lock should ever be the question. But you know what? At this point in time, it would be nice to actually see someone throw a ball more than 15 yards and complete a deep ball pass, when you went out and got him weapons. And I'm going to say this again. Everyone's like, we have to go out and get Daniel Jones weapons. Okay. Kadarius Toney, Wando Robinson, Malik Neighbors, Paris Campbell. You also went out and got the Walla Walla. You also went out and got the Walla Walla Waller, Golden Tate, Smooth Sounds of Kenny G. Hell, you even went out and got Kyle Rudolph. These were all guys that were supposed to make Daniel Jones better, and somehow they all sucked, except Daniel Jones is the Messiah. Oh, my God. Let's hopefully we get a good report on Andrew Thomas coming up. That's what we got our fingers crossed. And as always, don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to ring that bell because you want to like. That'd be awesome.